the LA Times, one of America's great iconic newspapers, caved into woke losers. I'm not shocked by this. You're not shocked by this. Nobody's shocked by this. And corrected their article headline about DiJonai. She's a spice. Carrington poking Caitlin Clark in the eye, regardless if you believe the eye poke was intentional or not. What happened to journalists and media? Well, standing by their stories and, of course, their opinions. Furthermore, can we stop trying to cancel people because we disagree with their opinions?
Sun guard DiJonai Carrington jammed her fingernail into Caitlin Clark's eye on Sunday during Game 1 of the Sun Fever playoff series. Various angles of the incident suggest Carrington did so intentionally. Carrington and Clark are not strangers. Carrington has spent the past several months mocking and smearing Clark. The Los Angeles Times provided that context in its coverage with the following headline: Caitlin Clark suffers black eye. It was caused by player who mocked and called her out in June. Given the apparent intent of the jab, Carrington's history with Clark is newsworthy. Let's see what Dan said about this.
Carrington has spent the past several months mocking and smearing Clark. The Los Angeles Times provided that context with the following headline: Caitlin Clark suffers black eye. It was caused by player who mocked and called her out. Well, that seems pretty easy. That seems very easy. But, of course, the normal suspects take issue with this because the normal suspects, I don't know why we ever give Sarah Spain any credence at all, but we do on this show. Apparently, people had a hard time with that. Now, I'm going to read that again. Caitlin Clark suffers black eye. Caused by player who mocked and called her out in June. That's right. That's accurate.
The tension between Clark and Carrington has grown over recent months, spilling from the court into media discussions. Headlines like this seem to stir drama, making us question if these rivalries help the sport or are just media hype.
Dijon the Spice Carrington called Caitlin Clark out in June, mocked her in June, and other times. Now, you got to remember, and only in the WNBA, only. It's the only league, maybe not, but it's the only league that I know of, where Dijon the Spice Carrington is engaged to the power forward on the Indiana Fever, Niza, whatever the hell her name is, Smith, Jones, whatever the hell her name is. I think it's Smith. They're engaged, and they're competing against each other in the WNBA playoffs. Now, let me say that again. They're engaged. Now, oh, Dakich, you're being sick. No, I'm making fun of it. What? We can't make fun of things? It's the only league. Hey, man, you know, Patrick Mahomes, he got a thing for Brock Purdy. You know what I'm saying? I swear to God, man, it's the wackiest league ever.
It's wild to see that John Carrington, who mocked Caitlin, is engaged to a player on the opposing team in the WNBA playoffs. This whole situation feels bizarre, and honestly, it just adds to the craziness surrounding Caitlin's journey this season.
And again, this is me being sexist, I'm sure, but you want to know why the WNBA never really resonated with anybody until Caitlin Clark came along? That's why.
Caitlin Clark is the reason the WNBA finally gained attention, suggesting that before her, the league never really resonated with fans. Caitlin's presence has undeniably brought more eyes and excitement to the game. However, one of the usual suspects in the media reported to duty shortly after the publication of the article.
Compete against one another. It's a weird world. Sarah Spain chimes in. Let's hear from Sarah Spain, because it wouldn't be a day without Sarah Spain chiming in on something stupid. If I worked at the Times, I'd be emailing about the people who wrote and approved this headline. If those people aren't willing to put their names behind it, accusing Carrington of intentionally poking Clark in the eye, it's because they know it's flat out wrong. Well, wait a second. I don't see the word intentional here.
She criticizes the Los Angeles Times for implying Carrington intentionally injured Clark, stating the headline was misleading. Dan counters by pointing out that while the headline doesn't explicitly say intentional, it strongly implies it. Here are some of the most viral responses. As expected, the Los Angeles Times caved. The outlet quickly massaged the headline to state, Caitlin Clark suffers black eye. She says it was no excuse for her rough playoff debut. Let's see what Streamus News Network said. Disgusting journalism.
The outlet quickly massaged the headline. Caitlin Clark suffers black eye, says it was no excuse for her rough playoff debut. Yet the likes of Sarah Spain demand journalists cover Carrington jam her and finger into the eye as if they were complete strangers. Look, honest to God, if you are on the right side or you are on the same side as Sarah Spain, you're an idiot. I mean, I've seen this woman. I could not believe what I saw when I saw her at the 1985 Bears thing. She looked just ridiculous. And it isn't about fashion. It's about respect. Just ridiculous. So I'm done with that.
Dan criticizes the LA Times for adjusting their headline about Caitlin Clark's injury and mocks Sarah Spain for demanding more coverage on the incident involving Carrington. He goes on to harshly insult Spain, calling her ridiculous and implying that being on the same side as her is foolish. The Sun Guard also hate-watches Clark's games and tweets through her emotions. But I'm a racist, jealous, coon, monkey, hatin' a bee. Who needs to go back to Africa when I do it, huh? Please, Carrington wrote in August, while referencing Clark nudging a player on the Washington Mystics. Yet, the likes of Sarah Spain demand journalists cover Carrington jamming her finger into Clark's eye as if they are complete strangers. Carrington could have seriously injured Clark, as could have Angel Reese and Chennedy Carter when they cheap-shotted Clark. Several women in the WNBA, driven by jealousy, have bought into a media-fueled narrative that white privilege is behind Caitlin Clark's popularity. There's an anti-white basketball brigade targeting anyone who defends Clark. Let's see what Clark said.
Yeah, obviously got me pretty good in the eye. I don't think it affected me. Honestly, I felt like I got good shots. They just didn't go down, and obviously a tough time for that to happen. I got some really good looks. I felt I had three wide open threes in the first half that you usually make. So that's tough, but I felt like I battled and tried my best. Took care of the ball better than I usually do, which is a positive. Yeah, overall, it didn't bother me. Obviously, it didn't feel too good when it happened, but...
Caitlin Clark has been unfairly targeted by many players and the media. DiJonai Carrington's actions, including mocking and injuring Clark, have been downplayed, while the media stirs unnecessary drama around Clark's popularity. The narrative that Clark's success is rooted in white privilege completely ignores her talent, work ethic, and impact on women's basketball. Instead of celebrating her achievements, critics like Sarah Spain focus on irrelevant issues. Clark has brought much-needed attention to the WNBA through her skill and dedication, and it's time to appreciate her for the game-changing athlete she truly is.
Moving on, we got two more. Phoenix Mercury versus the Minnesota Lynx. Lynx have the lead 1-0 after a 102-95 victory over the Mercury. This game...
The Caitlin Clark-Cheryl Swoopes dynamic has dominated the headlines this year, while the Indiana Fever rookie has been touted by almost everyone since her NCAA days. Fans have counted Swoopes as a CC non-supporter. After a recent appearance on Gil's Arena, the notion was strengthened even more, and Ricky Cobb on his podcast gave his take on the situation. But now the WNBA icon is back with an answer.
Yes.
33 points, 10 assists.
Mm-hmm.
The Mercury Lynx series has been nothing short of thrilling, with the Lynx leading the charge after that intense first game. The energy was high, and the competition even higher, setting the stage for a potential comeback by the Mercury. While stating how the most popular thing about Swoopes' commentary is when she talks about Caitlin Clark, Cobb also pointed out the former Houston Comets player's numbers. But in the latest episode of Queens of the Court, Swoopes seems to defend those numbers as fellow host Jordan Robinson asks her how she felt about her 3 MVPs. My first one, I knew I had a good season, but when I won my first one, I was kinda surprised that I won it. The second one, I was like there's probably 3 of us, and I was one of the 3 who would win MVP, the Hall of Famer says.
Mm-hmm. Woo! That's like her signature.
Yeah.
That's her signature.
Good.
Tash Cloud truly showed why she's a key player for the Mercury. With an impressive 33 points and 10 assists, it's clear that she's not backing down no matter how much the Lynx bring to the table. Swoopes continues, the third one? Seriously, I was like, oh no, I had that kind of a season. You could give it to me right now, but you gonna wait till the end. While, of course, it wasn't a specific jab at Cobb's earlier comments, it did seem like a defense of her own game. Is Cheryl Swoopes right to defend her MVP legacy against Caitlin Clark comparisons? Cobb had said in his podcast, Cheryl Swoopes again checking in on the subject of Caitlin Clark. I realized Cheryl Swoopes must talk about other things besides Caitlin Clark, but the only time that we tend to notice her is when she has said something A, about Caitlin Clark, and B, it seems to be stupid. She said that 20 points, 8+ assists, 6 rebounds a game is not dominating. Well, I assume that means that you never dominated at all then, Cheryl Swoopes. But then again, popular opinion does say she's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, with 3 MVPs to prove it. Meanwhile, Cobb is not the only one who has taken issue with Swoopes' criticism of CC. Even an NBA player stepped into the conversation a few days ago regarding her comments on Gil's Arena. DeJounte Murray joined CC fans in scoffing at Cheryl Swoopes. When Caitlin Clark was announced as the Associated Press Rookie of the Year, some fans took to social media to mock Cheryl Swoopes. The conversation continued when Ajo Wilson was announced as the MVP, and CC also ended up in the top 5.
Woo! That's like her signature.
Yeah.
That's her signature.
Bridget Carlton's corner 3 is something every team should fear. That moment was a game changer for the Lynx, reminding everyone why she's one of the most reliable shooters when it counts. And before the honors were announced, the WNBA legend appeared on Gil's Arena to discuss the Fever rookie's numbers, ultimately ending her assessment with, "Those are hell of numbers, but to me, that's not dominating the game." Fans did not take these comments lightly, and even NBA's DiJonai Murray took to Instagram to refer to them. When Bleacher Report made a post on Clark's rookie season numbers, Murray commented, "She's not dominating," followed by a series of laughing emojis. Seems like fans are not the only ones taking issue with Cheryl Swoopes.
Give her a chance. I don't know. They just weren't running through her.
Because my thing is this. I don't, I missed the start of the game, but I would assume whether it was Fee or Alana Smith guarding BG.
Alana Smith, yeah. Or Atlanta.
Atlanta,
Smith,
excuse
yeah.
me. You have got to get in the paint on the block and, like Shaq says, barbecue chicken.
This segment points to a missed opportunity by the Mercury. They didn't capitalize on their advantage with BG in the paint. If they're going to force a Game 3, running the offense through her is critical, especially with the Lynx lacking a dominant center. Since before Clark came into the W, the former pro has been reluctant to admit her talent. Since then, while she has seemingly resolved their relationship via publicly shared DMs and pacifying comments, not everyone is ready to believe that Cheryl Swoopes is truly rooting for Caitlin Clark. Since we know that the number 22 on Fever will probably not respond to any of it, only time will tell if Swoopes will finally accept her as her moniker, the generational talent.
Okay, that works for them. Well, then you got to do what works for you, which is put BG in, put her on the paint, put her in the paint, on the block, give her the ball. Maybe you get Smith in foul trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but she has to have more of a presence.
The strategy for Game 2 seems clear. Phoenix has to make BG a focal point. If they can exploit the Lynx's lack of a true center and get Smith in foul trouble, they'll have a much better shot at pushing this series to a third game. Is ESPN disrespecting Caitlin Clark? The recent headline, "DiJonai Bonner shut Caitlin Clark down," set the internet ablaze. While the intention might have been to highlight DiJonai Bonner's stellar defense, ESPN's framing of the narrative subtly undermined one of the WNBA's brightest rising stars, Caitlin Clark. The phrasing shifts the focus from praising Bonner to discrediting Clark. This isn't the first time ESPN has been criticized for such tactics. Let's break down the full story behind this headline and how ESPN continues to mishandle coverage of female athletes, particularly Caitlin Clark. The title used by ESPN, DiJonai Bonner shut Caitlin Clark down, does more than just praise Bonner for her excellent defense. It diminishes Caitlin Clark's performance in a way that feels disproportionate. The phrase "shut down" evokes a sense of complete failure, which doesn't reflect the full context of the game. Yes, Clark had an off night, but athletes having poor shooting performances isn't unusual. So why is ESPN framing this so sensationally? Clark, who has been pivotal to Indiana's success, finished with 11 points on 4 for 17 shooting. A below-average night, but not a complete disaster. Instead of focusing on Clark's resilience and Bonner's incredible game, ESPN opted for a headline that casts Clark in a negative light. This kind of sensationalism undermines the talents and contributions of both players involved.
In addition to Sunday being Game 1 of NBA playoffs, it was also A'ja Wilson MVP Day. She won her 3rd career league MVP. This one, unanimous. Joins Hall of Famer Cynthia Cooper in 1997 to hold that distinction. And unanimous was really the only way this could have played out, though. She set a WNBA record in points, first to ever score 1,000. Scoring average was also a record.
Caitlin Clark has been in the spotlight for her impressive performances throughout the season. In the postseason opener against the Connecticut Sun, Clark struggled to find her rhythm. She missed several wide-open shots and ended with only 11 points. However, as Clark pointed out in a post-game interview, her poor shooting wasn't due to any major defensive issues from Bonner alone. Caitlin Clark said, "I felt like I got good shots, they just didn't go down. Honestly, a tough time for that to happen. I had 3 pretty wide open threes in the first half that I usually make. That's tough, but I tried my best." This quote showcases that Clark wasn't necessarily shut down. The shots simply didn't fall. Yet ESPN's headline implies total domination, which isn't reflective of Clark's efforts or the broader context of the game. On the other side, DiJonai Bonner had an outstanding performance in this game, both offensively and defensively. Bonner is a seasoned veteran, finishing her 15th year in the WNBA and moving up the ranks in several statistical categories, including points and rebounds. Her defensive effort in guarding Clark is commendable. Still, it's worth noting that ESPN could have simply celebrated Bonner's contributions without painting Clark as a victim of total defeat. Bonner held Clark to a poor shooting night, but she also contributed 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks. Her incredible all-around performance deserves to be the focal point of the coverage, not framed through the lens of shutting down another player.
Told us that the Fever were one of the hottest teams in the Olympic break. They were averaging over 90 points per game. Best held to 69 points. First time being held under 70 points since the Olympic break. Talk about what the Sun did defensively so well.
Well, we talk about basketball being a game of chess, and especially in the series and especially in the playoffs, you got to make a move. And how smart was the Connecticut Sun staff? Give Stephanie White credit for putting DiJonai Bonner on Caitlin Clark to start the game. Mind you, Caitlin Clark and DiJonai Carrington have been going at it all season long, but you put DiJonai Bonner, who is 6'4". She's got great.
Unfortunately, this is not the first time ESPN has been called out for sensationalizing its coverage, especially when it comes to women in sports. Female athletes often face headlines that either over-sensationalize failure or downplay their achievements. Caitlin Clark, one of the most promising talents in women's basketball, deserves better than to be the scapegoat of a narrative that overshadows her hard work. This trend in media representation does more harm than good. By focusing on individual failings, ESPN risks overshadowing the achievements of women in sports who are making history in real time.
Chalk. What is your biggest takeaways from the 3 matchups that we've already seen?
Well, even with chalk, even when the higher seed wins the games, there are still things that have been very impressive. You take the New York Liberty, just the fact that they handled business. They took care of business at home after just losing to the Atlanta Dream. And then we go with the Minnesota Lynx. They didn't necessarily handle.
As a rookie, Caitlin Clark has already established herself as a key figure in the WNBA. She was a top contender for Rookie of the Year and finished 4th in the most valuable player voting. These accolades alone prove her talent and determination. However, headlines like the one from ESPN can slowly chip away at her growing legacy. Instead of celebrating her for her achievements, Clark risks becoming known for moments of failure that are blown out of proportion.
I don't really get to stand up for myself. I have great teammates. I have a great support system. I got my hometown. I got my family that stands up for me. I don't really get to speak out on things just because I just try to ignore, and I just try to stand strong. I've been through so much. I've seen so much. I've been attacked so many times. Death threats. I've been sexualized. I've been threatened. I've been so many things, and I've stood strong every single time. And I just try to stand strong for my teammates because I don't want them to see me down and like not be there for them. So I just want them to always just know, like, I'm still a human. All this has happened since I won the national championship, and I said the other day I haven't had peace since then. And it sucks, but I still wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything, and I would still sit here and say, like, I'm unapologetically.
But sometimes you just want to live a normal life. Angel Reese was quite clear on her wish after having known the dark side of popularity. It might be their rookie year in the W, but the Sky number 5 and Caitlin Clark have already established what their historic rivalry can do. Their stats speak for themselves, and fans love comparing them to each other. It's a fact that both players have brought more attention than ever before to women's basketball. But at the same time, while the players are not directly involved, fans on each side throwing vitriol at each other has caused harm. But a gymnastics star from Reese's alma mater has a possible solution. In a recent conversation on Best of Both Worlds with Flau, Olivia Dunn addressed how she deals with online and offline haters. As Johnson iterated how hard it is for student athletes to handle studies, sports, and endorsements at the same time, Dunn agreed. The gymnast said,
I'm sure you get it with people and trolls online, like even to just the art of like trying to stay silent during certain things, like saying one wrong thing can like...
She is right. One misplaced word can impact her work. As a public figure, it's not easy to overlook trolls. Dunn continues,
ruin the business. Like just being able to like keep your cool and composure, like that's an art. And that's something that we need to do because we're also representing LSU, and that's hard.
Johnson agreed with her.
Livy, you know how many times I don't want to crash out on the internet, or I done typed something up in my drives and had to delete it.
My Twitter fingers are like
comment backs.
Especially as NIL earners, brand endorsements bring in more attention to athletes, which sometimes takes away from what they're trying to promote at the primary level. The joy of sports. On a podcast episode from about 2 weeks ago, Angel Reese had explicitly spoken about receiving extreme hate comments. While the Fever rookie is adept at staying silent and not giving more power to the rumors, the Sky Star has addressed some of the unwarranted hate and anger thrown her way. Dunn said,
my Twitter fingers go crazy, but I can't press send because my code.
I can't because you did K because you know, like you represent. First of all, it's like, you know, I'm not representing just myself anymore. Like I'm representing brands. I'm representing LSU. Like it's people that look up to me. It's a whole lot of factors. But
it's an art.
With you now.
It's
I'll
hard
be right
to like zip it. Sometimes I'm not better than
and you know I like to talk.
Well, if trolls can easily say something, anything, from behind their screens, so can the people their comments are directed at. But given the large stage they stand on, as Dunn asserts, the art of staying silent comes in. While neither Johnson nor Dunn specifically mentions the Reese-Clark rivalry, the LSU players' advice could be taken by the pros as well. Interestingly, at one point in time, Flau Johnson and Angel Reese used to combat this criticism together as LSU teammates, but not anymore. They say college friends last a lifetime, but it's not always true. Certainly the case of Angel Reese and Flau Johnson is proof, two women who used to be teammates on the LSU Tigers once upon a time.
Relationship with all your teammates. I know Angel recently said that you guys aren't as close, but that's just with distance and time. Like that's not like, you know, she said she was going to come back cheer you guys on.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, me and Angel, we ain't like as close as we used to be, but like I still support her 1,000%. You know, I was proud of her, like just being the W and breaking records. A lot of people said that she wouldn't go to the W and do all those things, and they kind of hated on her. But I kind of knew that because I seen it every day in practice. Like, you know what I'm saying? I seen the mentality that she has, so it's been dope.
Let's see what Reese said on her podcast.
Yeah, I still support Flau'jae. We aren't as close as we used to be. And there's no hard feelings or anything, but we aren't as close as we used to be. That's why people always expect us to like still be posting each other and stuff like that. But like we aren't as close. And I mean, it happens. I mean, you don't have the best relationships for everybody and don't always continue relationships with people. So I wish her the best always. I'm always going to support her. I'm going back to LSU soon just to be able to see them and support the girls. But Yeah, there's no love lost, but we aren't as close as we used to be.
The Chicago Sky forward clarified that there is no love lost between the two, and Reese even sent good wishes to Johnson when it was announced that she would perform at the ESPYs this year. It might not be long before Johnson joins her former teammate as a pro in the W, or she might choose her singing career over basketball. Either way, though they may not talk to each other every day, Reese and Johnson will be supporting each other from afar. As for the fans, maybe not getting too involved in the rivalry of it all, but supporting the sport would be the best thing.
There are thousands of people on social media who are questioning this injury. There are thousands of people on social media who are claiming that this Angel Reese injury is fake, or as Donnie Brasco would call it, a fugazi.
Angel Reese's wrist injury has taken an unexpected turn. Fans are excited about some surprising new details. Caitlin Clark is at the center of it all. What's happening behind the scenes is hard to believe.
Now, is there legitimacy to these claims? Would Angel Reese actually fake an injury? Would Angel Reese prematurely end her rookie season to spare herself the embarrassment?
Here's the deal. Angel's career is on the line, while Caitlin's is taking off. It's like a real-life sports drama unfolding. Angel is at a critical point, and everyone's wondering, will this injury be her downfall or her comeback?
And even in her press conference, it didn't seem like anything was wrong. She didn't discuss an injury. So fans were actually really shocked when she came out and said that she would be out for the rest of the season. In the 24 hours after the news broke, the internet ran wild with conspiracy theories. They were wondering if she was truly injured.
Here's where things take a fascinating turn. Some fans are questioning whether there's more to Angel's injury than meets the eye. Is it genuine, or is she orchestrating a larger strategy while Caitlin is setting records? The WNBA landscape is changing, and we're all struggling to keep pace. This has transcended basketball. It's now about uncovering Angel Reese's true identity and her next move. Buckle up for this wild ride.
Basically, the doctors told me that I could either not get surgery or have surgery. The risk of not having surgery, I could literally have arthritis at 22 years old. That wasn't an option. The bone could literally crack and literally completely shatter. Right now it's like a hairline, literally a hairline, like shatter, not even that big, but they're gonna put like a small little screw in it.
Remember when Angel fell? It sparked a big mystery in the WNBA. Her injury might not be her biggest problem. Angel Reese was racing against the Los Angeles Sparks, ready to shine. After her shot, she fell and said she hurt her wrist. Yet, she was seen hitting the floor with that wrist. Then things took a turn. Angel claimed she had a fracture, but not just any fracture. It was in a tough-to-heal spot. Now she's faced with a hard choice: risky surgery or early arthritis. Imagine being 22 and having to make that call.
Angel's a poor shooter of the basketball. I don't know any other way to say it. She's just a poor shooter.
And the Chicago Sky, at best this season, will be the 8th seed in the playoffs and probably get smoked by the Liberty first round. So what's the point?
We've never seen official reports about this injury. Its details remain unclear, sparking fan curiosity. Is there more to the story? You might wonder how this impacts the Chicago Sky. Typically, losing a star player would hurt a team. Surprisingly, the Sky have continued as usual, with or without Angel.
I also think it's going to be interesting to see how the Chicago Sky runs specifically their offense without Angel Reese on the court, because one thing that they have focused on this entire season through wins and losses is feeding the ball through Angel Reese. The offense has pretty much gone through her the majority of the season. It has worked in their favor in some ways, and it has caused some losses in some ways. And I also think that a player like Camila Cordosa, who was the number 3 pick in the WNBA draft, she has been pushed to the side, and Angel Reese has been in that spotlight.
Let's simplify this. The Sky's playoff chances are slim, and Angel's absence isn't helping. The team is struggling either way. Now people are questioning if Angel is truly the game changer they believed.
However, when it comes to play on the court, I think that Camila Cordosa hasn't been able to find her groove, and I don't think that the Chicago Sky have utilized these two players in the way that they probably should have, because I feel like they have a pretty big threat with these two if they use them properly. So hopefully, even with Angel Reese out through the rest of the season, they can maybe try some different lineups, try to run offenses a different way, and maybe figure out what will work best going into next season.
But wait, there's more. Angel's teammates are starting to speak up, and it's not looking good. After a crushing 31-point loss to the Washington Mystics, Camila Cardoza didn't hold back. She called the performance embarrassing. Ouch. That's not just frustration, that's a teammate who's reached her breaking point. You might be wondering, is Angel really as upset as she appears? That's the key question. Some fans are looking closer and starting to think there's more to her injury than she's admitting. Is she using this break for another reason? Could there be a bigger plan we're not seeing?
I'm still a rookie. I'm still figuring it out. Trying to figure things out. So if I am rookie of the year, God, thank you.
You definitely won't be the rookie of the year.
If I'm not, back to the drawing board, and I just want to win. Getting to the playoffs is something that I really, really, really want to do. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not really thinking about rookie of the year.
She's clearly thinking about it. It's evident on her face. She knows she might lose it. Just when the Angel Reese story seemed to peak, Caitlin Clark entered. She's not just playing basketball, she's changing the rules for newcomers. How is one player altering the WNBA so much?
Saying Angel Reese is better than Caitlin Clark is saying Rodman was better than Michael Jordan, or Ben Wallace was better than Kobe, or even Andre Drummond was better than LeBron. And I shouldn't have to point out that Angel Reese is actually a poor defender.
Let's discuss Caitlin Clark's impressive stats. She's averaging 23.4 points and 10.6 assists per game, leading the league. Remarkably, she's also made history. Clark is the first rookie to achieve 2 triple-doubles in a season. Amazing, right?
The WNBA's black superstars should thank their lucky stars. For the record ratings, Caitlin Clark is detonating, even if new fans are mostly white fans. It doesn't matter what color eyeballs are.
Clark's influence extends beyond statistics. The Indiana Fever, they're selling out arenas, both home and away. Fans flock to see Clark play. Each game turns into a showcase for her. Meanwhile, Reese isn't pleased. She's taking shots at Caitlin's fans.
I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that. But when you come, when it's behind your name, that's when a lot of people are like, oh, they think, oh, I don't like her because her fans are saying this. No, I don't believe in her heart that she has hatred towards me. And I'm sure she believes that I don't have hatred towards her, but I think her fan base has gone, I'm talking about like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Like,
we see it all the time.
I know y'all see it. Like, I literally saw something today that was like,
You might be wondering how significant this is. Well, consider this. Clark's recent game against the Atlanta Dream drew viewers in droves. Its numbers rivaled NFL games, all within the WNBA. That's impressive, but it gets even better.
Angel Reese announced on Twitter that her rookie season as a WNBA dump diver is officially over. Hey there, lonely male followers, it's me, Angel. No bikini pics today because I have bad news. I have spent the weekend at Woke Memorial Hospital under the care of pretend Dr. Jill Biden. Jilly just informed me that I've got a boo-boo on my wrist. Ouchie!
Clark is busy lifting her whole team. She's more than just a top scorer. She's improving everyone around her. It's like seeing a basketball expert lead an orchestra. Each pass and play clicks perfectly.